So first of all, who of you happens to know how high their energy bill is usually in a month? Okay. 1 out of 28. That's not a whole lot. But, you know, the gentleman who wrote the book on sustainable energy didn't know either. So fair enough. Want you to find out about that. Who of you happens to know what type of energy you have at home? Whether that is based on fossil fuels, whether that is based on renewables, or on a mix of that. Who of you happens to know? Okay. Second thing, where's to find out? What else stuck with you? What stuck with you from that talk? Virginia.
I didn't know like nuclear energy.
Yeah. So yes, the nuclear energy is a very potent power source. I found it pretty interesting that he said, and more greener energies like nuclear power and renewables. The first time I saw this talk, I was like, he said what? Did he call nuclear energy green? How come?
I'm not sure what type of energy we use around it, but he said that 90%.
Yes, in the UK, 90% come from fossil fuels. Not sure whether that is true of every single country, but yes. But for the nuclear power, why does he say it's green energy? What were some of the big problems that we have with nuclear energy? Why are most countries trying to get rid of nuclear energy? Adam?
Disposing of the radioactive waste.
Yes, the disposal of the radioactive waste. And the second part is every once in a while they blow up. The risk is not very, the risk is not very high, but the impact when that happens is so bad that we certainly want to avoid that. So both of those combined led to the choice of we do want to get rid of nuclear energy. So we've been unbuilding some of these. But of course, there is a large share of the population on the other side that says, well, it's better than burning fossil fuel, right? And you can find arguments for and against each side. So it's not about finding a final answer to that. Ideally, we would get rid of both. Like we would be able to move beyond fossil fuels and be able to move beyond nuclear energy and rely solely on renewables. Now, what he said about the renewables, what struck you with that? Like that chart where he said, well, here are the countries that have a lot of land mass and that also have high energy consumption. And then across all the board, we had a lot of countries that had less. US were up in the corner. There was a lot of land mass here compared to the amount of population, because the population is concentrated on the coast and there's a lot less in the middle. How are we doing with renewable energy here in this country? We better than the UK? What's your thoughts? I don't have the super recent numbers, but like very roughly same area. The thing is, what do we do with the middle of this country? Farm, yeah, it's a lot of farmland. So we have a lot of wheat, we have a lot of corn, we have some more cattle, and we have fruits and veggies, but yeah, a lot of it is big time grain farming. Can we take half of that and turn that into wind energy plants? Yeah, we could be the new energy suppliers for the rest of the world. I mean, why not? We would still have to figure out how to get that energy to where it needs to go, because like you said in this talk, and then build your energy lines from the Sahara to Surrey. Surrey is just a little place in England. So that is non-trivial to be able to get that energy to where it needs to go. But we do have a lot of landmass here that we can use for it. What are we going to do with the corn we were going to plant? What is a lot of that corn used for? How do you raise your steaks? Yeah, so a lot of it is being used for feeding cattle, And the question is, if we chose to reduce our meat consumption a lot so we wouldn't have to use that big an amount of food, we could maybe use some of that for energy production. Redistributing food is a whole other problem. So apart from, well, if we don't have the cattle that eats that corn, then maybe we can give it to somebody who's hungry. Yes, that question should be answered first, and then we also need to think about renewable energy. And we won't be able to solve all the problems at the same time. But what's the problem with some of the windmill, some of the wind energy harvesting, and some of the solar panels? And this might not be as prevalent in the US as it is in parts of Europe, but have you ever heard that saying, not in my backyard? So there were a lot of people complaining, and he kind of mentioned it in his talk where he said, oh, you know, we can just become friendly with some of our neighbors to have more land and say, well, you know, we don't really want the windmills here, but can we build them over there at your place? So because people live a lot closer in a lot of areas in Europe, you could literally have one of them standing in your backyard. And there were a lot of people who didn't want that. Here, the way how we're currently doing it, we tend to have them more in the desert, where they are also more efficient. Luckily, we have enough desert close enough to us, so they are not trying to build them in the middle of the city. It would also infrastructurally not make a whole lot of sense. But therefore, that not in my backyard problem is not as much in your face here, not as much in our face here as it was in Europe. Back to your energy bill. So I would like you to find out by Wednesday how high your energy bill is and what types of energy go into the energy you consume in your home. And what do you think of the energy vampires? Who of you has heard the term energy vampires before? Okay, so it came up first time in that talk. What do you think he meant? What could be those energy vampires? They switched off all the energy vampires in his home and that dropped the bill, that cut the bill in half.
Energy that you're not using,
Energy you're not using. Well, if you're not using, it's not going anywhere, right?
Energy that's just being like passively used without like you actually interacting with something.
Yes, so it's appliances that still need energy, that still consume energy, despite the fact that I'm not currently using them. We leave our laptops plugged in overnight. Done that many times. Necessary? Oh no, sure not. We leave a lot of things plugged in when we don't use them, and that does consume a lot of energy. Now granted, it is somewhat annoying to run around my house and unplug 25 or 30 things at night. What's the way around that? Apart from never having enough sockets, what do you do when you don't have enough sockets?
There's the power strips in that you can just turn one thing off and it turns a bunch of things off.
Exactly. You have a couple of the power strips installed that you can just switch off completely, and then you're like, all right, done. Leaving the living room for tonight, done with this, switch that off. Good. All the energy vampires are switched off for the night. After finding out what your energy bill actually is, I would like you to make a little list of the things that might be consuming energy in your home and see whether you can make a difference in that energy bill over a month. I'm curious about that. I was able to make a difference with that. Of course, it depends on how many people you live together with, and say if you live with 4 other people and you're the only one making a change in your habit, you're not going to see as much of a change in your overall bill. But if you feature that in, or if you can get them on board, either way, then you might be able to discern quite a bit of a difference. So I would like you to try that out. And now we're going to take a little break. Get up, stretch your legs, move around a little bit, and then we'll jump into the story of stuff.